Everyone is talking about problems in our trucking industry and how we need to clean up house. We're talking about problems with insurance fraud. We're talking about problems with ELD providers, with chameleon carriers, with non-domiciled driver's licenses, with safety on the road, with safety inspections. My God, there is a long list of things to talk about, problems in our industry. But I wanted to gear this video on what we could do right now collectively in order to make our industry a much better place. After being in the trucking industry right now for 20 years and running my own fleet, I see problems in these 5 areas that I think we need to be concentrating on. Number 1, ELD providers, okay? I'm gonna talk a little bit about this. Who gave licenses to third world country to provide softwares or ELDs to Canadian and American trucking companies? I have no idea. But I have to say one thing. There is somebody in our industry, Highway, that is doing a phenomenal job at cleaning up house in our industry. And every week or every 2 weeks, I stumble upon an email of theirs where it says, this week we have banned the following ELD providers. And as the weeks go by, I keep seeing these emails and I say, wow, this is amazing, because if ELD providers that have this backdoor channel are going to get eliminated, it might just start creating a level playing field for all trucking companies. It's very hard to compete against another company that is not following the rules the way that they're supposed to be. And trust me when I say this, there are hundreds of trucking companies, both in Canada and in the US, that have backdoor channels to edit driver logbooks. Now, the second place where I would concentrate on for sure is insurance scams. There are so many fleets out there that have found a way to get a policy for 50 trucks, run 60 or 70 trucks, but all of them are somehow insured, meaning that if something does happen, they are insured. And that's why we see our insurance premiums are skyrocketing year over year. Now, third thing, chameleon carriers. I mean, this is a big problem. Every time, when a trucking company, and I see that there's a lot of emphasis right now on chameleon carriers in the US, I want you to know that the problems here in Canada are probably far superior, because you guys at least have one centralized system in the US, which is the FMCSA, and then you have the DOT. So every state is included in that. Ontario, or our provinces, don't really communicate with one another. So our Ontario doesn't talk to Quebec, and Quebec doesn't talk to New Brunswick, and New Brunswick doesn't talk to Alberta. So what I see happening here with chameleon carriers is a company out of Ontario that has a horrible safety rating will then go to New Brunswick or Nova Scotia and open up their trucking company over there under a different company name, take all the trucks that they have here in Ontario and then plate them in New Brunswick or Nova Scotia, and it won't be traced back to them, meaning that they will allow the person to open the trucking company and they're gonna get away with it. And people have been doing this for years. So that's why you see so many people opening up now their trucking companies in Alberta. And once they're gonna mess those safety scores up over there, they're gonna reroute them back to Ontario. So definitely there's gotta be some sort of crackdown, some centralized place where these provinces are talking to one another and somehow eliminating these chameleon carriers. Now, when it comes to the FMCSA, when it comes to your safety scores, once those start going into the red, that's really when people will start opening up a new trucking company and, rerouting their trucks into this new MC. And I really feel like both Canada and the US really need to start cracking down on it. The next biggest thing that I kind of don't understand how we haven't solved this until now is drivers not getting paid. I mean, this thing drives me crazy. In my database right now, I have over 50,000 drivers right now. And when I do get to talk to drivers, they all have similar stories. And if you ask any truck driver out there, there's always a story about somebody that withheld their money. Trucking is very simple. You're either an owner operator or you are a company driver, right? So if you are a company driver, there should be absolutely no reason why any carrier has the legal right to withhold funds from you. And it doesn't matter what you did on the road, and it doesn't matter if you backed into something, and it doesn't matter if you took the truck, went over a curb and busted your bumper. In Canada, the rules are very, very clear. You cannot deduct damages from the driver. And I'm very amazed by how we haven't been able to solve this problem. Maybe this would be a really cool project for DriverRoll to solve this problem. So if you guys haven't heard of the new technology that's out there or that's coming out literally over the next couple of weeks, it's a free service for truck drivers that can get matched with the highest paying jobs. So basically what this technology does is it scrapes all the job boards out there and it will populate for you the highest paying job for you as a truck driver in your region, in your area. So if I'm a truck driver from Vaughan, I just basically put my information, I put the fact that I'm looking for a job in Vaughan, and it will match me with the highest paying jobs in Vaughan. Now you can use the AI technology to, to find you your next greatest job. But maybe they can somehow solve this problem about drivers not getting paid, because, it's been years and years and years that this thing is happening and drivers are being withheld their funds. And I think that that's another place where we need to collectively kind of find out on what we can do in order to avoid these things from happening or stop them from happening further. And that kind of dives into my next topic, which is the payroll versus driver Inc. It's a lot worse here in the greater Toronto area, and it's slowly starting to trickle into Alberta right now, where drivers are misclassifying their employment status, where they are actually truck drivers, and they are working on the driver Inc. model or being self-employed. Now you can only be self-employed if you have a lease or if you're an owner operator, but if you are a truck driver getting paid per mile, you need to get paid on payroll. So this has been all over the headlines literally for as long as I can remember, probably more aggressively in the last 7 years and even more aggressively in the last year. And I see this all the time, these articles going back and forth. They are trying to do more and more about it. They are starting to audit, companies. They are starting to create awareness out there to give fines to people. But I still see, when it comes to the trucking companies that have the 1 to 5, 1 to 10 trucks, they are all doing it, and they make it more and more complicated. I see truck drivers that have their corporations from Alberta, or their corporations, so Ontario wouldn't have jurisdiction over that, or it's a very, very complicated thing. And I really hope that they solve this problem, because I really think that it's hurting our trucking industry, and it's definitely hurting competition, where drivers that have Driver Inc., companies that are paying their drivers through the Driver Inc. model, they're a lot more competitive with rates, and they're a lot more competitive. They can actually win a lot more contracts because they could be about 20-30 cents cheaper. They can provide rates, and that is not fair. So this is what I see from my opinion. This is what I see that our industry needs, a little bit of a shaking up. I do love reading, the articles from the US that they're starting to, crack down on chameleon carriers. I love the fact that brokers can now be held liable if they hire a trucking company that has a bad safety score, as we recently saw. I think this is great news for our industry. I think those that have good safety records are going to start getting rewarded, and those that have bad safety records, let's face it, the guys that have falsified the ELDs, they get caught, and their safety scores are not doing too well. So by creating awareness of the problems in our industry, we're actually helping out. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with people that you know, and let's start creating more awareness with real problems in our industry that are happening right now. I'm Ronen, and I'll catch you in my next one.